Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Who Ordered the Pie. I'm Christopher and thanks for coming back. If you caught episode 1, you know that this show is all about the stories behind the songs, the twists, the surprises, and the little details that make you hear music in a whole new way. And of course, there's always a cocktail waiting for us at the end. Sometimes the shock in music isn't the song, it's the singer. Sometimes it's not even who you think you're hearing, it's who you're not. Today we're talking about one hit single where the singer's name is on the label, but the voice you hear belongs to somebody else. Another band's first American breakthrough, not sung by the stars, but by a new guy. We talk about one of the greatest rock and roll albums of all time where the famous track was handed to an outsider. The most tender ballad from one of pop's biggest bands delivered by the brother who almost never took center stage. Today we're unmasking the voices in disguise, the singers you thought you knew but didn't. Elvin Bishop wrote it, recorded it, and figured he'd sing it too. But later he admitted, I tried singing it, but I sounded like a frog. Mickey just tore it up. That soaring vocal didn't belong to Bishop at all. It came from a little-known backup singer from Georgia, Mickey Thomas.
I must have been through about 1,000,000 girls.
His performance turned the single into a smash, climbing to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1976. That breakout caught the industry's attention. When Jefferson Starship faced a lineup shakeup in 1979, they brought Thomas in as lead vocalist. His voice powered Jane into the top 20 and later carried We Built This City and Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now straight to number 1. And his voice carried Bishop's song to the top of the charts and straight into rock and roll history. The Squeeze were one of the sharpest pop bands to come out of the UK. Built on Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford, writing together, trading vocals, and earning comparisons to Lennon and McCartney. But their most famous American track didn't feature either one of them. When they started recording East Side Story, their producer, Elvis Costello, suggested adding a new band member. He thought the band needed another voice, something more soulful. That voice belonged to Paul Carrack. Elvis and I brought in Paul for the album. He later insisted that Carrack take the lead on the song Tempted. It wasn't the band's idea, but it turned out to be the right call.
I bought a toothbrush, some toothpaste, a flannel for my face.
Carrack's smooth, soulful delivery gave the song the warmth that nobody else in the group could have pulled off. Tilbrook later admitted, I was a bit upset at the time, but Paul did a remarkable job.
There's no other, tempted by the fruit of another.
The gamble paid off. Tempted became their first U.S. charting single in 1981. It only reached number 49, but it became the signature song in America. Carrack left after one album, but his voice went on to power The Living Years by Mike and the Mechanics and a career full of unexpected cameos.
All his hopes and fears, I just wish I could have told him in the living years.
Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here was built on the contrast between David Gilmour and Roger Waters trading vocals. But on Have a Cigar, neither of them sang. Instead, they handed the mic to Roy Harper, who was a folk singer who was recording in the studio next door while they were working on this album. Harper later said, they just asked, would you sing this? And I said, sure, thought it would be great fun. It was a surprising and unusual move. Floyd almost never let an outsider handle lead vocals. Harper's sarcastic edge gave the track its bite and became one of the most memorable moments on the album. In the UK, Harper was already a well-known folk rock figure, praised for his biting, unconventional style. But outside Britain, he was a virtual unknown, which meant that to much of the world, his cameo on Have a Cigar became his most widely heard performance, forever linking his voice to Pink Floyd.
And it would tell you the name of a game, boy. Baby, baby, falling in love. I'm falling in love again.
Sometimes the surprise isn't in who's singing, but who's not even there. When Falling in Love hit number 1 in 1975, the band name on the label was Hamilton, Joe Frank, and Reynolds. But Reynolds himself, he had already left 3 years earlier, replaced by keyboardist Alan Dennison. The public didn't know that. They just heard a smooth, radio-ready ballad and sent it straight to the top.
Then you came and made my dream this man's reality.
But the hit most tied to Reynolds' name had nothing to do with him. And here's the kicker. Reynolds didn't see a dime. Dan Hamilton wrote the song, so publishing royalties went to him. By 1975, the performance money went to Hamilton, Joe Frank, and Dennison. Reynolds' name was on the label, but not on the paycheck. Even the album artwork told the story. The front cover still showed Reynolds' face and name, but the back cover quietly credited Hamilton, Joe Frank, and Dennison with photos of only the new trio. His image lingered on the outside, but in the music, he was already gone.
Baby, baby, falling in love. I'm falling in love.
By the early 70s, Steely Dan had already carved out their signature sound. Sardonic, jazzy, and fronted by Donald Fagen's unmistakable and cynical delivery. But not on Dirty Work. The smooth ballad from their debut, Can't Buy Me a Thrill, wasn't sung by Fagen at all.
Times are hard, you're afraid to pay the fee.
The band had brought in David Palmer because Fagen wasn't yet comfortable as a frontman. Fagen later admitted, I wasn't really comfortable singing in front of an audience, that's why we brought David in.
I'm a fool to do your dirty work, oh yeah.
Palmer not only recorded in the studio, he even went on tour with Steely Dan, handling much of the live singing while Fagen stayed behind the keyboard. His warm, radio-friendly delivery made Dirty Work one of the band's most enduring early ballads. Palmer's tenure was short-lived. He was gone after just the first album, but the track remains a reminder that Steely Dan's first great ballad didn't feature the voice everyone associated with the band today. The Beach Boys were built on a blend of distinct voices. Brian Wilson, the visionary, often singing in fragile falsetto, and Mike Love, the sharp tenor that cut through their surf anthems. Between the two, most fans figured they could identify a Beach Boy lead instantly. But not on God Only Knows.
Always love you, but long as there are stars above you.
The most celebrated ballad in the band's catalog wasn't sung by either Brian or Mike. Brian explained, I thought I was going to do it, but my brother Carl would probably be able to impart the message better than I could.
God only knows what I'd be without you.
Carl's soft pure tone carried the song into a serenity that neither Brian nor Mike could have matched. It only reached number 39 in the US, but its reputation grew far beyond the charts. Paul McCartney later called it the greatest song ever written. For Carl Wilson, usually the quietest of the brothers, this became his defining moment, the rare time he was the one in the spotlight.
Only knows what I'd be without you. Start a new world, just you and me, girl. Try.
The Tubes built their reputation on wild stage shows and satire, led by their flamboyant frontman Fee Waybill. They came out of San Francisco in the 70s, known more for theater and shock than sincerity. So in 1981, when the album The Completion Backwards Principle included a tender ballad, fans were shocked.
As it comes, a rocket to the sun.
We didn't know Fee could croon like that. That's because the singer wasn't Waybill. It was guitarist Bill Spooner.
I don't wanna wait anymore. I just don't think.
Bill called it the straightest thing I'd ever sang for the band, meaning the most sincere and unironic moment in a career built on parody. The single climbed to number 35 in the Hot 100, proving the Tubes could surprise even the biggest fans. Spooner's gentle vocal gave the band one of the most enduring pop songs.
I've waited so long, forgot what I'm waiting for.
A rare moment in sincerity for a group known for satire and spectacle. I know this last song wasn't a big hit, but it was important to me. I loved it growing up, so I wanted to include it here. And frankly, it always kind of reminded me of Chicago. It's that same kind of ballad stuff that they were doing at the time, which leads us to our next song. By 1970, Chicago had a clear formula for their ballads. Let Peter Cetera sing them. His smooth tenor was the sound of hits like 25 to 6 to 4, and later, If You Leave Me Now. But Color My World, from the band's second album, didn't go to Cetera at all.
As time goes on, I realize.
Trombonist James Pankow, who wrote the song, explained, I asked Terry to sing it because he had the right voice for vulnerability that I wanted.
I've waited to share and dream.
His raw, fragile delivery, just one verse followed by a flute solo, gave the ballad its haunting simplicity. That track became a wedding favorite and one of Chicago's most enduring songs. And after Kath's untimely death in 1978, it stood as a bittersweet reminder of a talent Jimi Hendrix once called the best guitarist in the universe.
With hope of love in you.
And with the last note fading, it's time to mix up our cocktail for this episode. This week's cocktail mirrors the theme, the unexpected voice stepping into the spotlight. It's a twist on the whiskey sour, but with one surprise note that takes center stage. Mix 2 ounces of bourbon, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, and 1/2 ounce of Cointreau. Then add 1 egg white. Add all ingredients in the shaker without ice first. You're going to give what's called a dry shake. After you've done that, add some ice and shake it again until it's well chilled and frothy. Strain that into a coupe glass and then garnish with an orange slice and a cherry. Let that bright Cointreau step right into the spotlight. So those were the songs where the voice up front wasn't who you thought. And sometimes the name and the face and the cover weren't even in the band. Next time, we'll flip it. We'll look at the superstars who quietly slipped into someone else's track, the voices you know hiding in plain sight. If you like this episode, follow the show, leave a quick rating and review, and please tell a friend who loves a good backstory and a good drink. It really helps more music lovers find who ordered the pie. Until next time, here's the loud riffs, quiet sips, and the stories in between.